Hi guys, Brain here, and welcome to another video today. And today we're going to be talking about the wonderful things that happened in the player test beta that happened here on Tuesday. And if you have kept your ear to the ground with anything, whether that be on DBD Twitter, on YouTube, on Twitch, you've kind of come to understand that this is a very, very wonderful update. Probably one of the best updates we've had in a very, very long time, which is very, very wonderful to say. I'm going to be going through the changes with you and talking to you about my takes about it, since you're probably going to ask me no matter what video I post today anyway. So might as well post this video where we actually go into bit by bit the changes and how I feel about them. So yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So field of view setting, of course, great, amazing. Very, very nice accessibility change. I loved it to death. I used it the entire time. I always hated that Shadowborn was locked to a perk slot, and I use Shadowborn on a lot of killers. Not all of them. I'm not Shadowborn addicted yet. Keyword yet. But now I can just have that effect on at all times, and it's more in line with a lot of modern DBD modern video game counterparts that just have field of view as a slider instead of a perk you have to run. So great accessibility change, wonderful. Shadowborn's new effect, while it's not particularly helpful, it does kind of make sense from a lore perspective of, you know, literally being Shadowborn, you know, and hating lights and flashlights that, you know, when you're blinded, you want to get away quickly afterwards. Just makes sense, right? I think it makes sense. I am kind of disappointed that Monitor kind of just had the field of view clause removed and they didn't replace it with anything. I was kind of hoping to see what kind of like weird, interesting new thing they come up with to replace it, but they just kind of didn't. They're just kind of lame. The 3-gen system, I'm sure you've heard and worried a lot about this. The TLDR is that you can't kick a gen more than 3 times. It gets these weird little special entity blockers that kick up around it after you've kicked it 8 times. There's small things like you have to work on a gen a little bit, 5%, in order to get it to tap now. And also dry kicking has been increased to 5%. No, it is still not worth it. No, that's still not worth it unless nobody's around. It is a little bit slightly more viable, but don't start doing it. In terms of this, people kept asking me how was this today when I streamed it on Twitch, but to be frank with you, it never came into effect. When I was playing Killer, I never kicked the same gen 8 times ever. And when I was playing Survivor, I never had a Killer kick a gen 8 times ever. So it's not only kicks, it's damaging events in general, but just making it clear that realistically this isn't happening, and the only situation this really is happening is if somebody is defending a 3-gen. So I was actually pleasantly surprised about this. When I first read this in the dev update, I was like, this is really scary and weird. I'm not a huge fan of this, but like it didn't even come to effect, so is it that bad if I literally never ran into it in 4 hours of play? I don't know. There's a lot of small stuff, like Ruin doesn't deactivate when somebody's killed, which it never should have, so glad that's gone. Some small changes to Surge and Pain Res that don't really cause a lot. Yeah, it's just nothing too crazy, nothing really to write home about with this. Allan Wake, which was a very, very surprise addition because we just went from content to content. We didn't have a mid-chapter. That was not a thing. Usually there's content, mid-chapter, content, but they just kind of threw Allan Wake in with this mid-chapter, which is really interesting. But I won't say no, because Allan Wake is an amazing series that you should definitely play. I spent most of today just people going, who's Allan Wake? And it really kind of just showed me how, well, if you noticed, in the Game Awards, Allan Wake 2 and Baldur's Gate 3 were kind of like the big games going back and forth in terms of winning awards. So like, I don't know, did you just like live under a rock that whole time or what was going on? But like, hey, this is Allan Wake from the Allan Wake series. It's very, very wonderful. The first game's really great, and so is the second. So yeah, check those out if you haven't, or at least be aware that they exist. Yeah, that was interesting today. In terms of his perks, I've seen so many people go back and forth on this first one. Champion of Light, while you're shining a flashlight, you have 50% haste, and when the killer gets blinded, they're hindered for 6 seconds. I don't see how it's overpowered, but I do see how it can be annoying. The haste doesn't really help. The haste is not really a thing that is ever going to come into gameplay in any meaningful way. However, the 20% hindered for 6 seconds on the killer will come into play because you don't really need to hit like any sort of skillful blind with it, because as you know, if you play Dead by Light for more than 2 seconds, people will often just stun you at the pallet, blind you at the pallet, and there's not really a differentiation here between that and an actual good blind that happens out in the open. However, the cooldown is 60 seconds. It is a full minute, so they can't do it the whole chase. So realistically, it's fine. But do keep in mind that that is a way that it can be annoying. I don't think it realistically needs to be changed. Maybe if there was anything I would change about it just to make it not annoying, it would just be like the killer can only be affected by one hindered from this perk every 60 seconds. So like if you break off chase and chase somebody else, you don't end up in like a hindered cycle, but that realistically that's not even like that likely. So like that's gonna be a very niche situation, so I don't even think it really needs that. Boom Illuminate, the next two perks that Allan has both are companion perks, and they're designed that way. Boon Illumination is a boon specifically to kind of aid other boons. By itself, within a 24 meter range, you see the aura of gens and chests. However, after booning the first time, you get to move. When the next time you move your totem or cleanse a totem, you get to do this 10% faster. So obviously there's a lot of situations where you'll boon somewhere and a killer will keep kicking it over and over. Obviously it's probably better to move it, or you find a better spot like in the upstairs of a main building or something that you want to move it to. You'll be doing that quicker after the fact. So obviously you run this mostly in companionship to another boon perk like Shadow Step or Circle of Healing, but it doesn't really stand too much on its own. And that's the same thing with Deadline, and Deadline is made almost exclusively to be paired with Autodidact and Hyperfocus, because this one is while you're injured, skill checks appear 10% more frequently, and the penalty for missing is reduced by 50%. So obviously this is obviously meant for Autodidact and Hyperfocus, perks that people complain about. Even though Hyperfocus does generate a higher skill check chance itself, people complaining about these two perks not really generating enough skill check chances to really get the most value out of the perk. So Deadline you can now run with that and now get the most value out of this perk. Otherwise, this is just like another Technician-esque perk where skill checks don't hurt as much, and that's it. So these two are companion perks. They're not bad. I've noticed that the DBD community kind of has an issue with calling perks bad just because they have to be run with other perks. Just because a perk does not stand on its own and is OP does not mean that it's inherently a bad perk design. Some perks are made specifically to be made to sit with other perks, so that's not bad. So I wouldn't call it bad just because. Hillbilly, there are so many changes here that I'm not going to go over every single one. I'm just going to try to summarize these. Character is essentially getting a complete overhaul, complete rework again. And as somebody who mained this character for an extremely long time, I'm considering maining them again. I'm not moving off Xenomorph, but I will try to somehow create more time and space so I can, play with both. I don't know how that's going to work, but they essentially fixed Hillbilly. If you guys remember all the way back in 2020 when the overheat initially got introduced, they kind of like not broke this character, but kind of ruined this character. They made him very underwhelming to play, and the amount of skill that you had to put into playing the character did not equate at all to the amount of results that you had. So they did a lot to try and change that, and I think they were very successful, not only in creating a character that is not miserable anymore, but also extremely fun. So in terms of strength and fun factor, he is now better in every way, and it's really, really wonderful. So they did a lot of base kit changes that are wonderful that I have suggested more than once before, made multiple videos, but both reacts and full videos dedicated to how to change Hillbilly. Miss cooldown, nicer. The hit cooldown's nicer. You now chainsaw base kit faster. Like my favorite thing, the thing that really made me really happy is after like the miss while you swing and you miss, you actually move. You actually move a lot while you're missing a swing. So if you miss a chainsaw on somebody, Billy is actually very highly mobile now, which is really wonderful because that helps you so much with repositioning yourself for the next chainsaw. It is honestly my favorite thing besides just the hilarity of Overdrive, which we'll get to, that came out of this came out of these changes. I love the ability to miss a chainsaw and immediately start repositioning. It is absolutely wonderful, and it's chef's kiss. They also made heavy clutch base kit, so the collision is not as wonky on Billy. You guys know, especially since I play all my Xenomorph matches, that collision is kind of like the bane of my existence, and the thing I get the most angry at when it comes to Dead by Daylight these days. So having base kit heavy clutch, which reduces that collision, oh, it's so nice. I still whack into a lot of stuff, and that's fine. But it was only once a match instead of 2 or 3 times a single loop. once or twice a game versus once or twice every single time I attempt to chainsaw and curve is a vast improvement. Vast improvement. Overdrive is hilariously fun. Essentially, all you need to know about overdrive is they essentially took overheat and made it a good thing and not a bad thing. So essentially, when you overheat now, and there's plenty of things that generate overheat, you are now way faster, and your cooldown's way lower. So essentially, you kind of enter a buff state, so to speak, where your curves are just amazing. Like you go faster, your cooldowns are reduced, your movement speeds. It's just great. Everything is great. You just enter a buff state, and I never knew Billy needed a buff state, but this is a wonderful way to not fully abandon the overheat mechanic, while also implement it in a way that's still fun and makes people happy. Like, they could not have done a better job with this. And I faced Billy on Survivor, and he doesn't feel unfair. He doesn't feel too OP. Like, it feels like just old Billy except on steroids. Like, it feels like old Billy except on hard mode, which is fine because Billy's fun to face. So like, I don't mind having a more difficult Billy to face. Absolutely wonderful. Would change absolutely nothing about Billy. You perfected it, behavior. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening to us for after being very stubborn about changing Billy for years and years. Thank you for finally listening. Thank you for finally just full send, making him a really fun and amazing killer again. Thank you so much. SoDo, I did not play SoDo during the PTB. I had to actually go and watch people play SoDo and face SoDo. I think that this is better than what we had. I think she is a little bit less of a flowchart killer, but she's still not particularly interesting. The big thing being that like you can teleport infinitely, but stacks are only applied to people within 16 meters of a television, but they can bring an add-on that extends that range. Obviously, a lot of TVs are bi-gens, so this is kind of you're probably going to be getting hit with that. Not all are, but most are. Just kind of also with this, that's also very annoying, is that iridescent tape is now base kit as well. So that really it was just kind of like, it's kind of just reverting a lot of the stuff that was with her previously, but still that add-on is really good. And now whenever they hook somebody, condemn progress cannot be removed. So if SoDo gets a lot of condemns on a specific survivor and then hooks them, it just stays that way. I did not see enough of this to really make a full call on it. I really could not be bothered to play SoDo, sorry. But a lot of SoDo mains I know were saying it was fun, and fair, and strong but fair. So I hope that they're right. I hope they're right, but I guess we'll just have to see how it plays out on live. In terms of Blight's add-on changes, they're all great except for one. Except for one. So the Blighted, Rat, and Crow, the rush add-ons have been halved, but Blight's still very fast with these add-ons. Not a huge cut. The character plays mostly the same with these, so it's fine. Addivile has been dunked on, which Addivile was kind of stupid anyway, so like, who cares? There's now a new add-on tree that extends rush duration, which I think is a very cool idea. So that's what new Alkring does. I think it's a cool idea for rush duration to be a thing, because there's plenty of times I've seen, obviously not like better Blights, like Lilith and stuff like that, but a lot of people that kind of casually play Blight is they'll go rushing out into a space, but like run out of rush before they hit something. But now that's just, if you just run these add-ons, you just don't have that problem. However, the problematic add-on is Iridescent Blight Tag, which allows you to rush infinitely. Yes, you did not hear me wrong. You can rush infinitely. You just have infinite tokens. So it doesn't matter how much you screw up, how much you mess up, you're just gonna be able to keep rushing until you eventually get that hit. I don't know how we simultaneously looked at the top side of this list and made every possible good change that makes sense, and then just randomly at the Eries decided to make something so irrevocably busted and free that it just makes you wonder. It was very fun. I loved this add-on. Don't get me wrong. It was very fun, but not at all fair. It was very fun. Not even remotely fair. This is fun at the expense of other people to a T. I enjoyed this add-on so much. This is why I wish that custom games were a little bit more robust, because I would love to just go into a custom game and just like use this add-on, but there's no way this can hit pubs. There's no way this can hit public matches. This is disgusting. Take that out, please. In terms of perk updates, there's not a whole lot to write home about. The big winner here is Grim Embrace, because now Grim Embrace, every time you hook somebody for the first time, a la Pain Res, every time you leave a hook outside a 16-meter range, all gens are blocked for 12 seconds, which is very, very nice. It's a very, very good perk now, and it's balanced because after your first 4 uses, just like Pain Res, it goes away. It does have this extra thing that's really cool that it's kind of the the ghost of what it was before, that when you do hit that 4 token range, it does kind of do what it did before, and then it deactivates itself. So it's kind of like a little sprinkling of Pain Res, while also still being mostly the old perk it was. And it's just really nice. It's just a really, really nice perk. It kind of just, I think I've said this before, and I think I've made a video about it before, but I might not make an updated video, is that out of the 3 types of gen regression in the game, or the gen slowdown in the game, regression is the most unhealthy. Red bar is the second most unhealthy, and blocking is probably the most healthy of the 3. So making block perks stronger, I think, is a good direction for the game, because it's not a we need to redo parts of the game. It's not a this part of the game is just taking really long now. It's just, let's take a little time out. Let's slow down the game a little bit, which is way, way more healthy in terms of an interactivity perspective. Quick Gambit and Save the Best for Last are kind of the big losers from this patch. It's kind of like the only thing that doesn't make any sense to me. The Quick Gambit, the changes are so strange and ineffective that it's just like, you might as well not change the perk at all. Save Best for Last kind of just makes everybody upset, right? Because now Save the Best for Last loses stacks a lot. So like it's been pretty heavily nerfed, but because you lose stacks anytime you enter the obsession, whether that be M1 or M2, now the killer is going to be ignoring the obsession entirely. So if you were one of those people that didn't like save because it encouraged the killer to focus 3 survivors and just ignore one entirely, and this often means tunneling as well, yeah, this problem is going to be worse than ever. So I don't know. I would have done anything else besides what they did to Save the Best for Last. I hope they figure out something new to do with this perk, but yeah, the changes for this were not fantastic. Orman also got updated, and it's a very subtle update. There's a new tile that's kind of wonky and weird. It's not too, it's all right. It's a long wall vault, but the palette's not like directly lined up with the vault, so you kind of have to path a little weird to get the vault, fast vault. Also, the front and back of Orman has been like that big rock wall and stuff that's been removed. So now there's actually like possible tile spawns and stuff. It's been cleaned up a little bit. I was kind of worried about this because Orman was already a fairly strong survivor side of map. I was kind of worried that Orman would get too strong, but I didn't really feel that in the PTB. But then again, I was facing a lot of people who were just playing Allan Wake without all their teachables. So maybe it's bad on live. We will see. But yeah, that's basically it for the changes. Honestly, I'm very sad that Night and Nowhere to Hide, more so the second, is still not going to be probably good for live, especially Nowhere to Hide, because I love that info perk, but it is what it is. Otherwise, this is like literally one of the best big patches that they've put through the game in a long time. You fix Billy, Allan Wake's cool, made a lot of they made cool perks useful again. The Sakura rework is what it is, I guess. We'll keep an eye on that one, but like, I don't know, field of view, base kit, like it's just a lot of good stuff here. It's just wonderful. Like there's not a lot to hate about this patch. So if you're one of those people, I know a lot of people watch me play DBD instead of playing it themselves. When this hits live, hop on the game again, see if you like it still. See if there's a little bit of joy you can rekindle, because once this hits live, which is gonna be at the end of January, I believe. Yeah, just hop on the game when this patch goes through, because I feel like there's a lot of fun stuff in here that would make you enjoy the game again. And that's good. That's a good feeling to say. It's a good feeling to say. So yeah, what did you guys think of the PTB? Did you like what you saw? Is there anything you're concerned about? Let me know down in the comments below. But other than that, it's gonna be it for today's video, friends. But I do upload daily, so I will see you tomorrow. But if I do not, I'll see you when I see you. Goodbye.